First off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessors, transmitting masters, and everyone here today for the opportunity to continue talking about the six paramitas. So as you can see here, we are now on the third paramita, forbearance, or patience, but patience is a little bit too limited. Okay. But actually, before we talk about this, I wanted to last week when we talked about the precepts, I mentioned, or we mentioned about being flexible and applying, in the practice, okay? Because there are certain situations where maybe, we have to sort of bend the rules, so to speak, a little bit. But again, these are not, the flexibility is not, for the sake of, our convenience, really. I mean, it's, again, so remember in the very beginning, I mentioned that we need wisdom, right? We apply wisdom to all these paramitas, to all these practices. And so the flexibility is where that comes in is we're using our wisdom, okay, in applying it. So in the examples that I gave, of course, the first example was an extreme example where one is forced, I guess, say forced to break his vow for the sake of, well, what do you do it for? I mean, it's for the sake of saving a lot of people. Okay, so now then the second example where, just seeing, where we're presented with a situation where we might kind of, in that case was the food. Okay, so when we're offered some food that, maybe has meat and we have taken a vegan vow already, what do we do, right? So actually, I had that situation too, but I felt that I think I didn't quite deal with it properly because basically I was at an airport and it was lunchtime, so I ordered it was like I think it was a pasta dish, okay, so spaghetti or something. And I told them to not put any garlic on top. But when I got it, I had, they sprinkled the minced garlic all over it. And when I saw it, it's like, oh, yeah, I can't eat this. So I sent it back. And so then, they redid it, made it, and without the garlic. But later on, I realized that, well, actually, they, for the food service, they when you send back food, typically they can't sell that to someone else, so it was basically wasted. And so I didn't think about that at the time, and so there's a question of, well, okay, so we have to consider, well, okay, it had garlic on it, and I can't use garlic, but I could have just scraped it off, just like the grand predecessor did for his meal on the plane. He kind of moved aside the meat and whatnot and just ate like the rice and vegetables. I could have done that. I didn't think about that at the time. But, so I just sent it back. So that's kind of being, by sending it back, it's like, well, that's not being flexible. That's like really, very strict, following the rules. But in a case like that, then we're also wasting food, which is also I don't know what I call it, a sin, but it's not good. Okay, so then here we have to use our wisdom and say, well, it's okay, since, the grand predecessor had kind of set a precedent, basically. I mean, it's not really a precedent, but he's just, doing what is very natural in that situation. And so we do the same thing. Now we definitely should do our due diligence. Well, in this case, I did, because I told them not to put the garlic on, and they still did. So But make sure that, yeah, I mean, it's not like, oh, I order something without knowing what they're going to put in it, and then I get it, and it's got something, got meat or whatever in there. We should still do our due diligence, make sure that, we instruct them, tell them that's, what we can't eat, to leave stuff out. Then, yeah, so, and that's it. And then, so yes, even though we may have eaten, I mean, obviously, if it had I wouldn't have been able to remove all the garlic if there was, the garlic on it, and I would probably consume some. And, when we do that, yes, we know, okay, is in that circumstance. And then later on, we can kind of, I guess you can say, we take some vows and we repent and say, okay, next time I'll do better. Try not to, get in that situation or things like that. So again, but anyways, it's all about using our wisdom. Okay, so so again, wisdom is very important in all our practice, right? Okay. And so the flexibility, it should not be based on our emotions, our feelings, or whatever our mood is. So we should, and it can also potentially go beyond any kind of rational considerations as well. So, but there's, the prajna wisdom that's really what we want to have, okay, to use. All right. Okay. Now, okay. So, Holy Teacher previously last week, right, he said that he sees his disciples as not really upholding the precepts very well. Okay, and that's true. I mean, we tend to become lax at times, especially when no one is watching us. Right, we're alone, or we're not in the temple. Right, then everything, we're all relaxed and we don't necessarily follow the rules. Okay, so or the precepts, and so that's something that we should be aware of. But forbearance, I think, is something that, I guess we all do to a certain extent. It depends on each person, right? We all, what our tolerance level is for, how much patience we have, right? Everyone is different. But I believe that forbearance is probably, it's probably the most difficult to really achieve the perfection, right? That's what the paramita, you can say, is a perfection of this, I don't know, practice, I guess. Or you can call it maybe a virtue in this case. Yeah, but this is something that we really need to work on, because ultimately cultivation, in the end, if we really want to achieve Buddhahood, forbearance is definitely very important to achieving Buddhahood. Okay, all right. Okay, so what the chief examiner of the three realms says. So we can basically, to be able, forbearance, he's talking about forbearance. Okay, so be able to take a loss or be unfairly treated, right? To be able to tolerate verbal abuse, insults, or even maybe like gossip and rumors about us, to be able to face wrongdoings or being blamed, and to be able to face it head on. But I mean, head on, he's not talking about, pushing back on things, but, not trying to dodge it, not trying to escape it, especially when we're being blamed for something, or, someone's pinning the wrong, some mistake on us. And we don't just say, hey, I get very defensive. Say, I did not do that. Okay, so that's what most people will do, right? We all do that. I mean, who doesn't want? Who wants? No one wants to be blamed for something they didn't do, right? But here, forbearance, is being able to accept that blame, even though you didn't do it. Okay. and to be able to accept or submit to any kind of adversity, hardships, difficult situations, difficult people, anything. So now the taking a loss, typically that would mean a material loss, losing money, losing some material things. Okay. And this unfair treatment here, it's, I guess, talking about kind of not necessarily, the verbal. So verbal is a separate one. So this would be, how we're treated in other ways. Now, this tends to be not as bad. I mean, more people can deal with this better than like the second one, verbal abuse, okay, or slander, any of that kind of thing. Because basically we're able to, I think most people are more able to let go of these attachments to things. Let's say, I've been scammed. Okay, I lost $100 through a scam, or even $1,000 in a scam. In the end, it's just money. I mean, it's not your life. Okay, so and I think most people are able to let that go. Okay. I mean, they might get angry, say really, how did that happen? But I think most people will be able to let that go. The same, being unfairly treated. I mean, I think, although this kind of starts encroaching onto, okay, so the loss aspect is a little bit easier because that's really talking about attachment to some external thing, material thing. But maybe the unfair treatment, because then that is also involving our ego. We feel that, hey, I'm being unfairly treated. My employer or my boss, he's not treating me fairly. He's giving a raise to or a promotion to my colleagues, but he's kind of overlooking my my talent or whatever. So that. That's obviously, it involves our ego. But anything involving our ego, so especially also the words, the verbal aspect, when we're getting verbally abused, insulted, getting slander, all sorts of things. It's what is it? It's attacking. I mean, it's kind of you can say it's kind of an attack on our ego. Okay, so that's what hurts. What hurts is our ego. Okay, so it's not our Buddha nature. Okay, so the Buddha nature, our essence, doesn't care about this stuff. Right? This is actually the Buddha nature doesn't care about any of these things. Okay, so it's really our ego. It's this sense of self identity, the self, right? This I, the ego, that has this attachment, and that's why we feel bad or we react emotionally, we react in a way that creates conflict, okay? All trying to defend our ego, right? So forbearance is also to basically, have, if we can be humble, right? Being humble is, if we have an ego, it's kind of the opposite, right? So if we have an ego, a big ego, then we really cannot be humble, right? So being humble, right, is kind of the opposite. So it's getting rid of our ego, then we can be humble, and that is how we can actually, and meek, okay, and all those other things, that we can deal with these and be able to tolerate them, right? Again, the same thing with the wrong, being blamed. Again, that's like a direct attack on our ego. So we have to kind of overcome that. Now, okay, so and then to other adversities, the situation. So today we live relatively comfortably, and wherever we go, like in the summer, if it's hot, we have air conditioning, right? In the winter, there's heating. But, if we take that away, let's say you come to the temple and, sit in class, or you go anywhere, and it's hot and there's no AC, we have to endure that. Now, if you knew that, okay, it's 100-degree day and the temple does not have air conditioning, are still willing to come to the temple and sit in class? Or, let's say it's a Dharma class, you sit all day in the temple without air conditioning and it's 100 degrees. Are you willing to do that? Okay, so that's forbearance, okay? And so, I mean, you might be willing to do that if, let's say, you're paid to do it. Okay, it's your job maybe. But beyond that, when you have more of a choice, would you do it? So again, this is testing our forbearance. Okay. Now, and then let's see, so you can have any kind of example. We're used to eating good food. Okay, so and then you come to maybe the Dharma class and you get served very simple food. Is that something that you can tolerate, right? So again, forbearance will overcome also. We have to overcome some of maybe it's our habits, what we're used to, our comfort level, in terms of like physical comfort, things like that, all these things. They'll be able to, in order to endure hardships and, these, where things the situation is not ideal. And of course, we're always facing non-ideal, sometimes it's far from ideal situations. Okay. But okay. Now, because, most sentient beings, they are, just common people. It's all about the here and now, right? Enjoying the moment right now, for basically what? For fear of missing out, maybe? If they didn't, take advantage of this moment to eat this good food or to enjoy something. They think that if they miss this opportunity now, that they're not going to get it later on. So that's kind of a very basic human trait, characteristic, if you will. That people do that. So that's and of course people they want to avoid discomfort and unpleasantness and all that kind of thing. Now, okay, so there's a common saying. It says, "Take a loss." I don't know. I say, "Take a loss, take advantage, or gain." I mean, so in order to really, it's basically how we view things. Okay, it's our view, our normal view in this world. Okay, what we're taught in this world, but everyone keeps, reminding us. It's like, if you take a loss, you lost something. Okay, it's not like, how can you take a loss and actually gain something? Okay, so it's kind of the opposite. It's the opposite of what we see in society. Okay, so in this case, it's like, when you take a loss, like a material loss or something. But actually, if you're able to just let it go and be content, content, or just at least not get angry and not have resentment, not resent, not even remember, the fact that, this person or this happened to me, that I lost this, lost some money in a scam, whatever. Then what we've gained is something even more precious than what we lost. What we gained is really, it's part of our virtue, okay? And that's priceless, okay? Virtue is priceless, okay? So basically, that's why the Chinese saying, it's 吃亏就是占便宜, okay? So the fact that we are kind of maybe having been taken advantage of or having taken a loss, it's actually a gain. Okay, so it's not something that we see. So maybe it's at least in the immediate it's intangible, but it's there. Okay, we have that. There is that gain, really. And then they also say the sacrifice. If we sacrifice our enjoyment, then we can enjoy sacrificing. Well, I mean, that's again, it's our how we view things. Everyone thinks, oh, a sacrifice, that's no good. That's who wants to sacrifice pleasure? Who wants to sacrifice comfort, enjoyment, wealth, or all these things? But if we're able to sacrifice things, then we can actually enjoy. It is similar to this first one. It's kind of the opposite of what society tells us and what we learn in society and what everyone is striving for. It's kind of the opposite. But again, cultivation is kind of, we're going upstream. We have to go against the flow of normal, what happens, what's considered to be maybe the logical or the right thing, to do in society. Sometimes we have to go against that. I mean, it goes the opposite of that, because what they're doing, they're flowing downhill. Okay, they're flowing down, and in that direction, that is the direction that you create karma and you create sins, and that's the path of reincarnation. Okay, so if we want to escape from reincarnation, then we have to go the other way. Okay, we can't follow that path. All right. Okay. Now, this Hansan and Suda. Okay, these two, they're two monks. They're in the I guess during the Tang Dynasty. Okay, so that's around. It's between like 600 and 900 CE. Okay, the current years. Okay, so and they are actually the incarnations of Manjushri and Samantabhadra Bodhisattvas. Okay, but anyways, so they say, how do we deal with others when they try to ruin us, slander us, take advantage of us, deceive us, ridicule us, laugh at us, insult us, and humiliate it, or me. Okay, so and they say, well, just tolerate it, endure it, yield, back off, ignore them, right? Now, and it says, after a few years, see how they are. So it is, I guess, this implying that, they're constantly doing this to us, okay, these things, how they're treating us or saying things to us constantly, like maybe every day or whatever, whenever they see us. But if we do these things, right, if we don't fight back, we don't try to defend ourselves necessarily. I mean, we tolerate it, we endure it, we yield, we back off, we ignore them. After a while, they're going to give up. I mean, they're not going to continue forever. Okay, they're going to stop. Because why? Because the people who do this, who do these to you, okay, they probably get some enjoyment in seeing us suffer. Okay, so and if we aren't suffering, then what's the point? Okay, so then they'll give up. Okay, I'm not saying that's like scammers. If they can scam you all the time, I'm sure they'll always scam you. So that's a different thing. Okay, so this is where we don't have to tolerate being scammed. All right. So if we know that it's a scam, we should just hang up on them. Don't get scammed. Okay, so we're not talking about that kind of thing. All right. So again, use your wisdom, and that's common sense. All right. All right, and then so it says, we should be able to tolerate a few words. And when we can tolerate the words that they're saying to us, which negative words, bad words, then we can be carefree, right? I mean, it doesn't bother us. Again, this is our ego, so really, the forbearance is really a test to see if we can get rid of our ego, okay, and endure for a while and be happy as a saint. Yeah, if we can endure the, all these things that happen, that they tried to make us feel bad or whatever, then, nothing will affect us. I mean, we'll be happy. We'll be just like a saint, okay? There's a common saying, right? Is 退步海阔天空, right? So it's back up a step and be as broad as the sea and sky, right? The ocean and the sky are very vast, okay? And they can tolerate anything, right? I mean, so look at what we're doing to the atmosphere and the oceans, right? We're dumping all our garbage into both these places, and they're able to take it. Okay, so we have to be like that too. Taking a step back, also we have to kind of yield. We have to kind of get away from a conflict situation, right? So if someone insults us, then most people maybe the reaction will be to get angry and they'll say something back. They'll insult them back or something, and that's. But it's saying taking a step back. So we need to kind of not get angry and not respond in the same way that they respond, that they acted towards or talked towards us. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we always say, right? So like in politics, right? And it's like, the other candidate or the other party is playing dirty, right? They're doing all these dirty tricks, but we shouldn't stoop to their level, right? We shouldn't play their game, because then we're just lowering ourselves to that level. Okay, so again, we don't want to do that. So this is like turning the other cheek, right? Turning the other cheek, basically. And when you do that, that's yielding. Then you don't create this conflict, and you won't create a karma. Okay, that's also a very important thing to remember, is that if we essentially fight back or argue back, fight back, and we could create a bad affinity anyway, at least, if not a karma. Okay, so and then that will be that needs to be resolved later on. Okay, and so why take that chance? Why do that? So just yield, just back off. Yeah, if you can avoid, if there people are taunting you, whatever, if you can turn away and just walk away, that's fine too. That's good. I mean, that's one way to do it. Okay, so but we still have to let it go. Just don't let it bother us. Okay. Yeah, we yield a bit, and we can be leisurely. Okay, so we don't have to worry too much, So the basic key points here is that, yeah, if we can take it, we can ignore it or yield or whatever, endure it, then everything will be carefree and happy and leisurely and all that. All right. Okay. So we have to temper and refine ourselves. Okay, so that's what the forbearance is all about. To use the true principles or truth and principles, and Wu Wei. The Wu Wei is like the non-motive action or without motive, and I add the non-ego, no self. Okay, so. If we can act without that ego telling us what to do, then that's what that is. And then to deal with any kind of gossip and harmful words that we may hear. Okay, again, gossip. It's a lot of people they can't. When they hear these things, it really upsets them. They're affects their emotions, their mindset, and everything. They get angry, and this is unfortunately this is life. I mean, we will encounter these things in life, and it's best if we can just ignore it. Let it go. Don't get into just treat it as if it's nothing, as if they didn't say anything. I mean. The harmful words, again, those harmful words are towards our ego. So if we can get rid of the ego, then there are no harmful words, right? Those words are not meant for me. I mean, they just pass, you know, you can say they pass right through me. Okay. So it's like, oh, who you're talking about. It's not talking about me. Okay. So, and then so use gratitude and meekness. Okay. Meekness, basically being meek is having patient restraint, being calm and subdued. Okay. So, to accept adversity or distress and insults. Okay. Now gratitude. Okay. So that obviously this kind of fits in here. The gratitude aspect. That's, I guess, even higher level, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's one thing to tolerate things, but then it's another thing to also be grateful. That, I think, even, you know, very few people will be able to do that. To be grateful that, you know, you're insulting me. Thank you. Actually, if anyone is, you know, saying stuff to us or whatever that's trying to cause us harm through words, I mean, we can say, oh, thank you very much, I appreciate it. You know, that it's almost like a reverse psychology thing, and they'll stop. I won't guarantee 100%, but they'll pretty much, most people will stop because it's unexpected. Okay, that's not the response that they're expecting. Okay. So, plus, this is a way to kind of get rid of it. I mean, you can laugh it off too, you know, laugh off the thing and what they're saying. And it kind of disarms, okay, their intent, you know, what they want, trying to achieve. Okay. So, but the gratitude also, this will allow us, okay, if we are able, just like we were saying, when we take a loss or something, in this case, maybe being taken advantage or something like that, and we actually will gain something. So in this case, yeah, this can reduce our karmic debts, really, or reduce our sins. Okay, so if we are able to, you know, forbear and tolerate these things, and with gratitude. Okay, so that's something that we definitely need to try to practice, work on. We all have to work on this. This is not easy. All right. Now, in one of Buddha's previous lives, okay, so this is an example of forbearance. Okay, you can say forbearance to to the limit. All right. Basically, in one of Buddha's previous lives, he was the Rendu Shenren, which, I don't know, I just say it's like the forbearance hermit or sage or something like that. Okay, so, but he obviously cultivate he's called a forbearance hermit, so that means he cultivate forbearance very well. So now he endured dismemberment by this king of Kalinga. Okay, so basically what happened was this king went out hunting with his, you know, consort of, you know, his woman, right? And, during the hunt, I guess, at one point he decided to rest, and took a nap. And then, this hermit, this forbearance hermit, he was sitting not too far, from there. And, I guess he was teaching, he was probably teaching, you know, speaking the Dharma or something. And those women, they all went to listen to him speak. And so the king, you know, when he woke up, he found out his consort was missing, and so he went looking for them. He found them listening to the hermit or the sage, and so he got angry. It's like, why are they, you know, listening to him? And so he decides to chop off chop off his arms and legs. Now the sage or hermit, forbearance hermit, you know, he didn't get angry. He didn't resent the king. He didn't blame him either. Because why? He no longer had, he cultivated to the point of, he had gotten rid of the 4 marks or the 4 images. Okay, so this is a very important thing to know. Okay, so the 4 marks or the 4 images, that's what all sentient beings have. They have this view of self, the ego, okay, or even this physical body as well. A view of others, okay, someone else, a view of all other, you know, sentient beings as a whole, and also a view of their own life, the sense that they have this life, okay, this lifespan. So he had none of these. So he had no view of these, no attachment to these. And so there is no more self. So what harm can the king do, even those chopping him off? Now, okay, so I said that because there's these, I don't know, I guess you call them like deities, or they're like the guardians of the Dharma, right? And so they kind of using, whatever the superpowers, whatever that they have, the abilities that they kind of reattached his limbs. But anyways, this is obviously an extreme example of that, of forbearance. Okay. Now, but it's also said, I don't know, I didn't see, this is actually in the Diamond Sutra, okay, this is mentioned in Diamond Sutra chapter 14, but in the Chinese, they also say that, so this forbearance hermit or sage also vowed to ferry this king of Kalinga, in some future life, when this hermit becomes a Buddha, he becomes enlightened, okay. So I don't know. I didn't see that in the Diamond Sutra, but so I don't know if that was added in there later. But anyways, if you look at, there are many examples of people who demonstrated forbearance, like Jesus Christ, for example, is another example. Okay, so he was also accused. All right, so this is where he was accused of something that he did not do, and then he was persecuted. Okay, so. And yet he didn't really defend himself, and he didn't fight back. He didn't hire a lawyer, right? And so he demonstrated forbearance. I mean, he took it, he tolerated it, he endured it, that suffering that he had to go through, and all for what? Because he also has no four marks, right? Four images. He has no self. He has no view of this. All these four marks. Okay. And of course he's also enlightened, but and so he obviously he probably had also a greater purpose in sacrificing his life. It's to save sentient beings. Okay. But again, that's forbearance. Okay. And also our predecessors, those who were propagating the Tao, who were originally in China, and then they had to leave China because of the coming of the communism, and so they went to Taiwan, and they had to endure 10 years of hardships before things got better. Okay, I mean they when they got to Taiwan, it's like the money that they had was worthless. Okay, and so they had to obviously support. They had to survive. They had to support themselves, and also the temple. Okay, so they had to then think of ways to do that, right? So they started making whether it was tofu, spiced bean curd, or noodles, or bean paste, all these things that they had to try to do to kind of support themselves, and also the temple. And plus, the government is cracking down on them and oppressing them, arresting them and all sorts of things. So during that time, it was very difficult, and yet they persevered, but they also, this is a demonstration of forbearance, right? They endured it. If they didn't have that forbearance, the Tao would have just ended right there. I mean, it would not have spread further from Taiwan. So this is forbearance is definitely something, a great quality, I guess, a virtue that we all need to practice. I mean, if we're trying to further, spread this the great cause, we definitely need this. Otherwise, that we're not going to go very far. All right. Okay. All right, so we get to the Holy Teacher's scripture here. So he says, we have to be patient with sentient beings, okay? Anger only induces conflict. When we are dealing with, assuming, we're as cultivators, and let's say we're trying to enlighten or awaken sentient beings, other people, and we have to be patient with them because they're not enlightened yet. And, it's the same thing. I mean, we just put ourselves in their shoes. I mean, we were there before. Okay. So it's not like, now I would say most people, didn't receive the Tao like just, someone said, hey, come receive the Tao. And yeah, okay, sure. Most people will say, oh, what is that? They have to kind of go through some thought process and reasoning to see if it's something that they wanted, but so we have to be patient, right? So that's one thing. And because if we lose our patience, we get angry, that's only gonna, especially we we say, oh, you idiot, man, you don't get it. I mean, you don't believe this, that's, you're going to create conflict and you can drive them away. So that's no good. Right. So we have to avoid that. But in general, we have to be patient with everyone. So patience, right, is part of this forbearance, right? So if we care only about living, but not about dying with honor, in the end, we still end up empty-handed. Basically, if we only care about enjoying our life, right, and the life, if we enjoy our life, we may not have an honorable life and death, basically. And so, but, all what we've gained in wealth and fame or anything else, we still end up empty-handed, okay, in the end. When we die, we don't have any of it. Okay, so we can't take any of that with us. It's useless. So we should endure. So what it's saying is really we have to, when we are cultivating, right? Because when we say we're cultivating, we're not, well, most people view it as we're not enjoying life, right? We're not enjoying life. And when we're cultivating, it's like, oh, you have to give up all sorts of comforts, all sorts of good food, all sorts of that. Well, of course, they don't know that there's a lot of good vegetarian or vegan food, but, all sorts of stuff, right? Give up all the wealth, you can't be super rich. But remember in the beginning, we said, what seems like a loss or what's like a sacrifice, but we can enjoy, so in the end. And again, this is kind of the opposite of what sentient beings or what society, believes is good. Okay. So again, we have to kind of, change our mindset, make sure it's not following what most people think is the good thing to do. All right. So ours, as a cultivator, our path is different. Okay. And then so when calm and harmonious, we are guided by the Buddha nature to cope with hardships on this journey of cultivation. Right. So we have to maintain this calmness, and calm quietude within, and being harmonious in harmony on the outside. Okay. When we're dealing with the situation, the people, then, it's just like that, a pool of water that's very calm. It's like the surface is like glass, right? It reflects things clearly. And so that's when our Buddha nature, when we are calm inside, and we're not riled up, okay, our emotions are not there, then the Buddha nature, that wisdom, that prajna wisdom appears to guide us. Okay, so basically then that will allow us to cope and deal with these hardships, okay, on cultivation. I mean, if we're relying strictly on our conscious mind, on our knowledge, on our emotions to deal with hardships, it's very difficult, actually, and it's not reliable, right? Our emotions, it's not very reliable as well. So only our Buddha nature, our wisdom, that prajna wisdom, can really guide us in any situation, right? In any situation, all situations. Okay. If we cultivate well this third paramita, the forbearance, then we can be at ease in any situation and environment. Yeah. I mean, if we can tolerate anything, we can endure anything, nothing will bother us, nothing will make us angry or anything. no matter where or who we're with or any time, then of course, then we'll be at ease all the time. There's right. So that kind of goes hand in hand, right? So the 4 words here says, basically the forbearance is cultivating the Tao, or it's really an essential part of cultivating the Tao. Okay, so okay. All right. Next, so forbearance is the beginning of managing our sentiments, our feelings, emotions, right, and bringing out our spirit, our true spirit cultivation. So, forbearance it is, because, right, so we don't get angry, so we're managing our anger, managing our when people insult us, criticize us, whatever, and we don't feel bad, and we then we don't want to talk to them anymore, or this is, we're able to manage that on the inside, our emotions, sentiments, and all that, so we can then bring out our true spirit of cultivation. Okay. And so this is really the beginning, the cultivation. We do need to practice, work on this forbearance aspect. Otherwise, it'd be very difficult. If we're constantly, if we can't control our emotions, the sentiment, that it will be very difficult to successfully cultivate, or to cultivate, to higher levels, to advance in our cultivation. Okay. Forbearance is the application of releasing feelings, or maybe letting go of feelings, and transforming temperament. Yeah. Again, we let go, try not to give rise to those feelings or emotions. And, our sentiment, we can change, right? So basically, So, from being angry, getting angry, to just maybe just laughing it off. Okay. So forbearance, that's how do we get there? It's through this practice of forbearance, of tolerating and being patient, and all that. Okay. Forbearance is the capacity for the heart and mind to be firm and flexible, and the spirit to be in the highest state. Right. The capacity, really, everyone is capable. Right. We all have the capacity to be able to achieve, okay, to achieve Buddhahood, because we have that Buddha nature. Okay, so we can, and we are humans. Okay, so animals, they can't do that, but as humans, we have the Buddha nature, and we can achieve a Buddhahood. But obviously, it's through all these practices, forbearance being an important one, to be able to do that. Now, we have to be resolute, determined, I guess. So in other words, we don't give up right away. Maybe we endured it. Like I said before, that we have different levels of tolerance, right? And so once my limit is reached, then it's like I give up, and or then I get angry and start fighting back, right? So we have to make sure that we don't. We have to persist and maintain that tolerance. Okay, so we have to be firm and flexible in dealing with these situations. Okay, the words or the actions of others. Right. Then our spirit will be in that highest state, our state of mind. Right. We will not, because it will be above all this turbulence, if you will, of life. It won't affect us. Okay. And so that's, we'll be in like a very serene, tranquil state of mind, right? Forbearance is the skill to follow or respond meekly and transform our thoughts. Okay. It is. It does. We say skill. It's a kung fu. Okay, so I guess the skill. Skill is probably the word to use here. But it does. It comes with practice. Okay, so it's not. I don't know if there's like one particular way to deal with things, but we can try different things, and whatever works for us, we do it, okay, to be able to tolerate things. So yeah, to follow or respond meekly, right? We yield where we can. We don't fight back. We can turn away. We can walk away. And also, so this also, transforming our thoughts so that we don't think evil or think, have malicious thoughts, bad intentions towards those who are treating us or saying bad things to us. Okay. So it does take practice. So I guess, the skill, yeah, it sounds a little bit different, like there's a technique, but it's really the practice, if you will. It's kind of like the practice to do that. Okay. Forbearance is the way forward in the course of cultivation and in facing the hurdles of numerous trials. Without that forbearance, if we can't tolerate, if we can't endure, if we don't have the patience, we will not complete this course of cultivation, right? We might give up halfway or give up somewhere down the line because it's too many hardships. I can't take it anymore. I want. I'd rather just why can't I just enjoy myself and forget about this? So again, this forbearance, if we can practice, get ourselves to a level of tolerance, forbearance, all that, then we can continue. All right, and because this path of cultivation will have many tests, trials, setbacks, all of these things. It's not necessarily going to be smooth, okay? And so we're going to have to deal with it. And just the key is that we don't give up, all right? Forbearance is the submission to the journey of ups and downs, frustrations of temptations and tests. Okay, so obviously, yeah. So, like I said, it's not going to be, it might be a bumpy ride, a bumpy path, a rough path forward. And we're going to have frustrations, throughout. But we have to, that's the way it is. And we have to accept that. And forbearance is to accepting that fact and dealing with it in the way that we're talking about. Okay, forbearance is the realization of cultivating together and learning from each other. So this is we can either now when we're in the temple, so usually you can say, like on the outside, yeah, we deal with people and, all these things where we have to sometimes endure and tolerate. But in the temple, it happens in the temple too. So between, cultivators, things like that could happen too. There could be gossip and there could be, maybe even, the insults, or even maybe it's not really a bad intent, but it's like, for example, maybe a transmitter will scold us, okay, for whatever reason, and we may not like it, okay. So, but we have to realize that, yeah, I mean, this is we're here, we're cultivating together, okay. We need to learn from each other. We have to cultivate together, and forbearance. We have to be able to tolerate that. And in fact, when in the case of like maybe a transmitter or anyone who is, they might be talking about some gossip about us, or again, the scolding us or whatever. Again, if we can tolerate, if we have the forbearance, that is helping to reduce our sins. Okay, so if we can show, again, this is where we can show that gratitude when that happens. Show our gratitude. So, say thank you. I appreciate it. I'll do better. Then again, that will affect the other person. I mean, it can transform the other person, and they'll realize, hopefully they realize that, they shouldn't be saying those things again. Okay. Forbearance is the interpretation of the mandate of heaven and applying Tao and affinity of this time during this time. Okay, so this is so the Tao. I mentioned earlier about those predecessors who kind of propagated the Tao from China to other places, including Taiwan, and then from Taiwan it went to basically to the rest of the world, also from Hong Kong. But without forbearance, again, they would not, that would not have happened. Okay, if they didn't have forbearance, so this is really, I mean, it is an important part of our practice. Actually, it was an important part of practice thousands of years ago, and it's still the same thing applies today. Okay, we have this affinity to be here in this time period, which is the white era, where this is the universal propagation, salvation time. The universal propagation of Tao. So having this affinity is a great affinity, and we should do our best to cultivate well in this time, and so we need to, and we're going to be dealing with, like I was just saying, dealing with people not just outside but even within the temple that can potentially, there could be potentially some type of like conflict type of things, but we have to kind of disarm those, transform those into something good, and we do that with forbearance. All right. Okay, so forbearance, the origin of curbing poverty and cushioning despair. Right, where am I? Oh. Okay, so this is, we have to be able to tolerate the situation that we're in. Now, of course, in the past, cultivation, people were, they were kind of poor back then. I mean, for example, like Yan Hui, right? So just as an example, one of the young disciple of Confucius, he was very poor. I mean, he was in poverty, and yet he didn't feel that way. Actually, he didn't feel that way. I mean, he was content with his life, with his lot in life, right? We talked about this before. That he was tested. They give him some bars of gold and see if he would take it, and he didn't. He left it there, saying that, well, it doesn't belong to him, and it's not his destiny or fate in this life to have that gold. He didn't really earn it, so it wasn't his, and he wouldn't take it. But forbearance, being able to endure that. I mean, we don't have to necessarily look on our side. I wish I had more money. I need more money. I mean, it's one thing to say, well, if we don't have enough money, I'm going to get kicked out of my house or whatever, and the things like, I mean, beyond the basic, what's needed to survive, well, not just survive, but to live. Then we don't have to look at it as I need more. I need to be to be really rich. Just we have to kind of be able to get over that, and not look at things that way. Don't take it that too seriously. Okay, so as long as we can live okay, then we're not out on the streets, then that's okay. But this forbearance it's like a mindset. It's having that right mindset that we can get through these things. Right, forbearance is the foothold on which to pacify disputes and quell impulses. Right, so if, like I said, if we can disarm the other person, if they're trying to attack us, disarm them by having forbearance. Okay, so then you no longer have that dispute. So you turn the other cheek, and eventually, they'll again, it's either sometimes it works as reverse psychology, and they just give it up, they stop, and it's also to on our side is to on inside to stop the rise of like anger or resentment or anything else that's, like one of the poisons within it, the 3 poisons within us. So that's what this practice is. All right. So forbearance is the marvelous state of broadening our tolerance and easygoing temperament. Yeah. So obviously, the more forbearance that we have, then we'll obviously we will be more tolerant, and our temperament, we won't be as easy to get riled up, to get angry. Okay, so we'll be more easygoing because we'll be at ease. Okay, we're at peace within, peaceful, and no matter what the situation or what we're dealing with, it doesn't really bother us. Okay. Forbearance is the simple action of introspecting and getting proof from the Tao. Okay, so yeah, it's a very simple thing. I mean, forbearance is not like there's some special technique that you have to learn to do, and then but it's just we introspect, self-reflect, look inward, rather than, because most people, I guess, I mean, we're always looking outward, okay? And when we're looking outward, we're looking at the other person, then there's a potential for creating conflict when we're doing that. We're just looking at ourselves, and we're reflecting on ourselves. Maybe they said something, or they accused us of something, blamed us. We just self-reflect and we say, "Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. It won't happen again." Whatever. But this introspection, I mean, then we can actually, we're getting closer to the Tao when we do that. Okay, so if we're then counter accusing, counter attacking the other person, trying to really defend ourselves, that is not the Tao. Okay, so we're getting, but we will get the proof from the Tao, because in the end it will be proven to us if we have this forbearance. Okay. Forbearance is the attention to mastering our cultivation and taking charge of life and death. Ultimately, so it brings focus to our cultivation and ultimately transcending life and death. And again, this is I said in the beginning that this is one of probably the most difficult. I mean, it's to I mean, we all do it. I guess we all practice it to a certain degree, different levels. But to reach the highest level is very difficult. But we can start somewhere, right? But the key is that we're never done. Okay, so until we're like that forbearance hermit or sage, where that's like the extreme or the ultimate level, or Jesus, what he did, what he had to endure. That's like the ultimate level. But hey, they transcended life and death. Okay, so so it's ultimately is worth it. Forbearance is the serenity of transforming small matters into nothing and big matters into small things. Okay, so small matters. All right. So we can have kind of peace of mind knowing that through our practice of forbearance, that hey, a lot of little things that could potentially cause us issues, whatever, they just disappear. And whereas large, bigger matters, then that gets reduced. Okay. And so again, this is where, if we can take it, if we can, through our forbearance, our sins get reduced, okay, or get cleaned up, and so maybe that affects our karma as well, and so things that would have normally happened, maybe some big thing, it becomes a small thing. A big accident turns into a minor accident, something like that. Okay, so again, that's coming through our forbearance, during practice of forbearance. Forbearance is the genuine practice of controlling our thoughts and being a saint and establishing virtues and reputation. Yeah, so this is, forbearance is really, it's like one of the big things. Like I said, it's like a virtue. And so this is something that all saints, Buddhas, saints, sages, they all have, or they've achieved a level, high level of forbearance. Okay. And so, yeah, and it's also, controlling our thoughts, our emotions, our sentiments, all that. Okay. Forbearance is the innocence of being subject to resentment from others and beautifying the wickedness of others. Okay. So, yeah, obviously, we basically, usually anyways, I mean, it's, of course, it wouldn't be forbearance if we were not innocent, and we were maybe getting resentment from others, is because, well, yeah, maybe we did something bad. Okay, we did something wrong. So that wouldn't, and we tolerate that. Then that's not forbearance. Forbearance is when we are innocent. Okay, so we are wrongly accused or whatever from others, and then we still endure it. Okay. It's one thing to be justified or not. This is the unjustified side of things. And and if we can endure it and we can not get into conflict, create bad karma, etc., then that is really transforming the wickedness or beautifying the wickedness of others. I mean, it's not saying that they're justified in doing what they're doing. It's just that basically we can transform that, and we can potentially we would be able to transform them. Okay. Okay. Let's see next. Okay. All right. Forbearance is the mastery of not being influenced, tempted, or deluded by sensual pleasures. This is right. This is something that, yeah, I mean, we, as through our senses. So there's any kind of through any of our senses, the pleasures, the enjoyment that we get through those senses, whether it's taste, touch, smell, sight, anything. Okay, and so again, this is where we can maintain a calm, an undisturbed, unperturbed mind, heart and mind. So you can say forbearance. So one way is like, we can just resist temptation, right? That's one thing. In this case, probably this is more I guess you can say it that way. So that we won't be influenced. Now, of course, precepts, also is part of that. Is that we avoid those in the first place, but you can't always avoid things. Sometimes it may be forced upon us. Okay, so in this case, then we need to have forbearance. Okay, forbearance is heaven's intent. Yeah, I don't know. It's like heaven's intent, heaven's plan, or that is not about debating between you and me, but about achieving the goal together. So. Rather than getting into, heaven wants us to be in harmony, right, and working together to achieving this. I guess this is more specific, talking about like within the temple, among the Tao cultivators, that it's not about who's right, who's wrong, or who should do this, who should do that. It's not about you and me. Okay, so there's no you and me, right? This is part of the four images again, four marks. We have to get rid of those, right? But it's about achieving that same goal together. Okay, so again, learning from each other, cultivating together, helping each other. Okay, to achieve that goal, and that's really what heaven wants. I mean. Forbearance is the ambition of unlimited potential and gaining more courage the more it is used. So that they're talking about our unlimited potential, right? Again, our Buddha nature, the Buddha nature has unlimited potential. I mean, our ego is very limited. Okay, our ego just thinks, I can only do this. These are. It limits itself. Okay, the ego does. Our conscious mind. but the Buddha nature is unlimited. Okay, so through forbearance we can achieve anything, really. And so, but the more we practice, the more we have the courage, right, to push ourselves. You can say maybe to push ourselves even more, to progress, to advance. Okay. Forbearance is the backbone that attests to the Bodhisattva way and the Six Paramitas. Okay, so again, it's like one of the key. We can't say that like of the six. Well, of the six, of course, forbearance. I mean, they're all very important. They're all like the backbones. Okay, so there's like they're all in different dimensions, and they're all important. Okay, so to achieve the becoming a bodhisattva or Buddha. All right. Okay. All right. So finally, all right. So really, the purpose of forbearance is we have to overcome what humans normally have. There's some intolerance and impatient tendencies that people have. We have to be tolerant, right? Have tolerance. You have a calm restraint, meekness, okay, respect, abnegation is kind of giving up of that self, okay, the relinquishing the self, okay, the ego, and patience, okay. Basically, we avoid conflict and create harmony, right? So that is the Tao is harmony, okay. So always remember that. If we want to stay with the Tao, I mean, if we're cultivating the Tao and we will always want to be with the Tao, then we want to be the Tao, and so we always should be in harmony. The practice, to able to accept adverse situations and loss, including being taken advantage of. Okay, so obviously we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we are being taken advantage of, being scammed, for example. That's just common sense. But if it happens, again, we have to be able to endure it, just let it go. All right. Able to accept verbal abuse and slander, gossip, rumors, all that kind of thing. So basically, we end up we have to control or change our mindset and attitude. Okay, our emotions, our sentiments. Transform our anger and hatred into gratitude, appreciation, and respect. So this is, forbearance. It's a lot. It's not, patience is too simplified word to use it cannot really substitute for forbearance. And so it's all these things together. If you look at, for example, some people in the past, so for example, Sun, okay, so before he became the king or emperor in China, back then, he was known for his filial piety, and he had to endure. I mean, his forbearance. He had to endure because he had ended up with he had a stepmother and brothers, and the stepmother, mistreated him, a lot, and even I think they even tried to kill him. But yet he took it in stride. I mean, he never got angry at them. He just pretended actually, in essence, he kind of ignored it. I mean, the thing happened, and he obviously he tried to save himself. But in the end, he didn't try to leave them. He just stayed and pretended nothing happened. So that's forbearance. I mean, that's it's very difficult for us to do, right? But it's doable. Okay, we have to again, we have to have that strong will, I guess, strong will mind to be able to do that, right? So I mean, there's a song, right? So we shall overcome. So how do we overcome these adversity and all these things? We have to have the forbearance. Okay, without forbearance, we can't overcome. Okay, so all right, and then so I'll leave you with this quote from Gandhi talking about forbearance. And so basically, we should meet abuse by forbearance. Human nature is so constituted that if we take absolutely no notice of anger or abuse, the person indulging in it will soon weary of it and stop. Okay, now obviously he's talking about it mostly in a civil disobedience, protest kind of situation maybe. But it's similar idea. That humans, they can mistreat us, but if we don't fight back, because fighting back usually that causes it to continue that conflict until basically they felt like they've won. So if we we forbear, okay, they'll give up. Okay, so all right, that said. If I had said anything incorrect or not well enough, not satisfactory, I asked the Buddhas for forgiveness and also asked transmitting masters and lecturers for their corrections. Thank you.